now let's take a look at using a dynamic consolidation and the difference there. So I think the first thing and easiest thing to do is just to make a copy. So I'll just copy this static sheet. So I'll go to move and copy. I right clicked on the sheet itself, the sheet tab I should say. I'll click on move to end and say create a copy. Okay, and here let's call this, I'm going to double click it and call it dynamic. Okay, and I'll press enter. And just for kicks, let's change the coloring on this as well. So I'm going to first change the sheet tab. So I'll right click on it and go to tab color. And let's use the blue accent 1 lighter 60. So let's try here. Oh, that's accent 5, sorry. Here we go, accent 1 lighter 60. So I'll use that one. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing basically that we did on the previous one, where I'll do A2, and then using my control key I'll select A10 through E10 and A17 through E17, and we'll go back to the home tab, go to the fill color, and then we'll use this blue accent 1 lighter 60. And then here, let's go ahead and do the gradient basically the same way we did before. So I right click on A1 and go to Format Cells. Make sure you're on the Fill tab, click Fill Effects. And color 1 is the white, which we want, and we're just going to change color 2 to be this blue lighter 60. And we'll use this top left one like we did before. So we'll go ahead and click on OK, and then OK one more time. Okay, so now we have all of this ready to go. So the first thing that we want to do is we're going to select and delete our information here. So I selected B5 through D8. Again, everything else disappears because it's basically set up the same way. So in this particular case, instead of doing a sum, let's do an average, and we'll work with the location 3 and location 4 sheets this time. So I'm going to leave the B5 through D8 selected because that's where I want my information to end up. And let's go back to our Data tab and click Consolidate to start the process. Okay, so now remember, this information is left over from what we did before, and since I want to work with the location 3 and 4 sheet, I don't want to have location 1 and 2 in my reference area. So I'll just go ahead and click on each one and click delete so that I'm starting with a clean slate again. Okay, and then in this instance, we're going to click average instead of sum because we want to see an average of the data that we're using. I'll make sure to now click inside the reference box, and first I'll go to location 3, which is Breezy Point, and guess what we're going to highlight or select is B5 through D8, big shocker. So that comes in and it looks good, so I'll click on add. And next I want to get information from location 4, and it nicely has made the recommendation for us, which is correct, and I can look over here just to verify. So I'll go ahead and don't want to click delete, definitely want to click add. Okay, so now we have the 2 items that we want to average. Again, you could average all 4 if you wanted to. You would just go ahead and just make sure that you clicked all of them. But in this case, we're just using the 2, the location 3 and 4. So that looks good. I think everything looks okay. Now, to make this a dynamic consolidation instead of a static consolidation, we're simply going to click this Create Links to Source Data. So we want to make sure that that has a check mark in there. And basically what that does is it keeps the links to our source data, which is the 2 sheets that we're working with, so that if something does change on one of those sheets, it will automatically update on our dynamic sheet. So that's really the only difference. The process is still exactly the same. You just want to make sure that you have the Create Links to Source Data checked before you click on OK. So I think that's everything. So let's go ahead and click on OK. And you can see now that we have an average of the location 3, let's see, is the 15,000, and location 4 is 8,500. So it averaged those two things together and gave us this consolidation information here. So let's again take a look and see, just as an example. So remember this number, 11,763. If I go back, let's say I'll go back to the location 4 Walker worksheet. Instead of 8,500, let's be drastic just so we can see a good difference. Let's say I input it incorrectly, so I'm going to change it to 18,000. So if I press enter for it to accept that, then let's take another peek over here on our dynamic. You can see that this definitely changed. It was 11,000 before, and now the average is 16,000. So you can see that I did set this up correctly as a dynamic consolidated worksheet because I changed information in one of my source worksheets, and it subsequently changed information on my dynamic sheet as well. So I hope that that helps you understand the consolidation process, why you would use it, and then the difference between a static consolidation and a dynamic consolidation. Remember, the key is to having all of your information set up in the same fashion if you're doing the consolidation by location. It just makes everything very, very easy. I would say that, once you get your first sheet set up, just keep making copies of it, just making sure to update with different names and what have you. And then remember always your consolidated worksheet is going to be a separate worksheet where it's going to contain all the summarized information from whichever worksheets you got that were in your workbook. So hope that helps, and thanks for watching.